This one? Yes, the smallest one. Hare Sriman, His Divine Grace Lacey, Prahladananda Swami, to the Prabhupada Ki Jai, Prahladananda, Haribo, Salavas Rani Bhakti, Sarvati Guru Ishi Grangi. Swam Vishnu Praya, Krishna Prasthapade, Srimad Bhakti-yoga, Swami Namaste, Saraswati Namaste, Kauravadi Vicharane, Nirvishesha, Srinivadi, Paschatya, Siddhara. Om Agyan Adivadandasya, Gananjana Salakaya, Takur Malitam Yena, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha, Shri Chaitanya Vishtam, Stavitam Yena Bhutale, Swayam Rupa Katamaya, Dati Swapadantikam, Vandeham Shigaro, Shidutapakamalam, Shigarum Vaishnavam Shya, Shirupam Sagardatam, Sahagana Raghunatam, Vitam Tam Sajivam, Sadvaitam, Savadutam, Vridana Saitam, Krishna Chaitanya Devam, Shri Radha Krishna Padam, Sahagana Lalita, Shri Visatam Vitam Shya, Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu, Idavanda Vigapate, Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste, Taptakam Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Vishnu Siddhadevi, Pranamamiri Priye, Panchakapataviyascha, Vipasinubhyascha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Srimad-bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 18, the perfection of renunciation, text number 10. Nedveshya kushalam karma, kushalena nusajite, yagi sattva samavishto, Vedavichina samshaya, Nedveshya kushalam karma, kushalena nusajite, Yagi sattva samavishto, Vedavichina samshaya. Ladies. Kushalena nusajate, Yagi sattva samavishto, Vedavichina samshaya. Nadveshta kushalam karma, Kushalena nusajate, Yagi sattva samavishto, Vedavichina samshaya. Now hates, akushalam, inauspicious, karma, work, kushale, in the auspicious, na, nor, anusajite, becomes attached, twag, tyagi, the renouncer, sattva, in goodness, samavishto, absorbed, medhavi, intelligent, shina, having cut off, samshaya, all doubts. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. The intelligent renouncer is situated in the mode of goodness, neither hateful of inauspicious work, who attached to auspicious work, has no doubts about work. Very short purport. A person in Krishna consciousness or in the mode of goodness does not hate anyone or anything which troubles his body. He does work in the proper place, at the proper time, without fearing the troublesome effects of his duty. Such a person situated in transcendence should be understood to be the most intelligent, beyond all doubts in his activities. Om Vishnu Vraya Krishna Prasthaya Buddhaya Srimad Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Kanamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paschadhyade Siddharne. When Subra was talking about the mode of goodness, he's talking about transcendence. And basically speaking, Prabhupada is taking Krishna's statements of Bhagavad Gita from the point of view generally from a liberated soul who's actually in transcendental consciousness. Therefore, the perfection of being detached from the material body is manifested in these particular purports. Naiva kinchit karomi ti yukta manyate tattvavet pashan srivan srishan vigran ashnangachan supan sasan. Naiva kinchit karomi ti yukta manyate tattvavet pashan srivan srishan vigran ashnangachan supan sasan. Vishvajanam vishanapin vyandriyarteshu vartanta iti jariyat. That the person of the divine consciousness will engage in seeing and smelling and touching and breathing, while opening and closing his eyes. He knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects and that he's aloof from them. So that's just mere liberation, something we hope to achieve by Krishna consciousness, that we don't identify ourselves with the activities of this body. Just like one is driving a car, he doesn't identify himself with the car. He understands that the car has a function, it has a value, it works in a certain way, and he's using it for a certain purpose, but he doesn't think he's the car. As I always said, that's why we call it a hung car. So I think I'm the car. But actually we're not the car. We're the soul within the car, within this body. So the question is, as it says he knows what his duty is, what is his duty? Now we think our duty is, somehow or another, to take care of this body, or things in relationship to the body. That is one of our duties, but only so far as we utilize that opportunity to become Krishna conscious. It's like our duty is to take care of the car, in so much as we can utilize the car in Krishna's service. And what is Krishna's service? It's something spiritual. In other words, those who are devotees or even aspiring devotees, their duty is actually to manifest Krishna in this world. Consciousness of Krishna in this world. That's the only thing that can give hope to this world. Otherwise, if we're engaged in the same activities of eating, sleeping, mating, defending as everyone else, how are we helping ourselves? How are we going to help the world? we have to manifest Krishna within our heart and radiate the bliss that comes from loving Krishna. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that was his purpose of coming to the material world, because that's what he wanted to experience. And that's why we're here. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had 3 reasons of manifesting his presence in this world. Does anyone know what they were?
Internal or external?
Internal. Yeah? We're not getting a whole lot of volunteers. Yes?
To experience love that Srimati Radharani feels for himself.
Yes, that's right.
That's one. Second is to...
Second? Yes.
To be a devotee, like he showed an example. He showed a perfect example of how one could be a devotee.
I know you said something, but I couldn't hear it. Slowly.
He appeared as like he played a part of a devotee.
But what did you want to experience as a devotee?
The love that the love.
Yeah, that's one. There's 2 others. He wanted to experience how Srimati Radharani, the happiness she felt by experiencing Krishna's love. And last, he wanted to experience how Srimati Radharani experiences his wonderful qualities. So that's what we want to experience too. And we experience it by serving Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, becoming qualified to experience that. That is, Srimati Radharani, when she's serving Krishna, everything she's doing has the same quality as she has. Full of unlimited transcendental affection, love, and bliss. And Krishna becomes very pleased, and his natural loving propensity is manifested. The whole atmosphere becomes manifested. When Krishna plays his flute, it's not an ordinary flute. It's the sound of Krishna's love for all living entities is heard in that flute. Different varieties of love that Krishna has for all living entities become manifested everywhere from the flute. And then, when Srimati Radharani experiences Krishna's love, her love increases, and her love is Ladini Shakti, pure bliss, pure transcendental pleasure. And the more her pleasure increases, everyone feels that pleasure, and the more Krishna's pleasure increases, and then everyone feels Krishna's increasing pleasure. So that's what we're supposed to manifest in this world. It's not our pleasure. Well, it is our pleasure, but it's manifesting Srimati Radharani and Krishna's and her associates, their pleasure. That's called Krishna consciousness. That's what we're trying to manifest. Now, by our external activities, probably would say that there's no better lifestyle than what a devotee is doing. So even we're not feeling transcendental bliss, or even that we're not even so conscious sometimes that we're trying to put Krishna in our heart and experience him, his name, his form, his associates, their qualities, their pastimes, and above all, the transcendental exchanges of love that they have with each other. Ever-growing love and bliss and affection. So even if we don't manifest that, still our lifestyle is the best. Because anyone who's not taking prasadam, anyone who's not trying to follow the principles of devotional service, and who is not trying to control their mind, their life is just wasted. Anyone who doesn't at least try to have the lifestyle of a devotee, their life is more or less useless. In other words, it's useless in the sense that the soul is not useless, but he's trying to be happy by making himself unhappy, by activities that make him unhappy. Therefore, that's called a waste of time. If you want to be happy, at least you should do the things that can actually make you happy. But because the soul is spiritual, he can't be happy By simply looking for happiness, he has to find the happiness in Krishna, because he's the reservoir of happiness. So Prabhupada would sometimes talk to these theologians, and they're speculators. They were looking for the absolute truth. Because there's a whole section of people who are eternally seekers. And the last thing they want to do is find out the absolute truth, because that would end their occupation of seeking. So the thing that disturbs them most, especially the thing that disturbs the theologians, theologians, theosophists, the academicians the most, is that we actually believe Krishna is God. That really disturbs them, that we actually think we know the absolute truth. But that spoils their whole eternal attempt to find the absolute truth. They're not really looking for the absolute truth. They're looking just to find the absolute truth and consider themselves to be superior to everyone else because they're looking for the absolute truth. And therefore 99% of the people that Prabhupada dealt with, especially when he had darshans with the intelligent people, hardly any of them understood that there was an absolute truth. Instead, they were looking for the absolute truth. And even Prabhupada would present the absolute truth to them, they couldn't accept it. Because that would spoil their whole attempt to look for it. And that's how they make their living, most of them, is looking for the absolute truth. And writing about how they're looking for it, how they're on the search. But when people hear that there's actually God, and they're not that God, then they become very disturbed. That there's a person who is so unlimited that no one can compete with him, and that position is taken eternally. There's no amount of penance, austerity, mystic yoga, there's nothing we can do to actually become even close to him in terms of beauty or strength or knowledge. As we can see in this world, everyone's competing, even up to the moment of death. Everyone's trying to be beautiful, everyone's trying to be knowledgeable, to different degrees. When we find our niche, when we find something we're good at, then we try to expand it so we can become better than everyone. We become a little bit more beautiful. Unfortunately, the material world doesn't allow us to keep our beauty forever. And then even the most knowledgeable, people that, as probably met Dr. Hare Krišna, who was a big scholar in India who wrote the Bhagavad Gita, who translated the Bhagavad Gita into English, but he was an impersonalist. And at the end of life, he lost his intelligence completely. Became like a child, couldn't understand anything. So he was a big, big scholar, but at the end of life, he became like a child. So simply all the opulence eventually is all taken away from us, and we simply get the karma, the reactions for what we did in our past lifetimes. Therefore, the proper thing to do is to focus the mind upon Krishna and give our love to him. Otherwise, where is there opportunity? What would be a better object, even theoretically? That there must be a person from which everything comes from. Otherwise, where do we come from? Most people think everything came out of nothing. But why, if everything came out of nothing, why doesn't nothing have all the qualities we have? And nothing must have all qualities all the qualities we have. Otherwise, how would we have any qualities? But how can nothing have any qualities? Because by definition, it's nothing. So it's not possible everything came out of nothing. Because then we'd be nothing also, because most people are nothing, practically speaking. But they try to become something. So it's not possible everything came out of nothing. So whatever the source is must have everything we have. Otherwise, it's not possible we could have any qualities unless our source had all the same qualities that we had. But since everything came from somewhere, that source of everything must have all the qualities we have. and more. So why not give our love to that person? Because if we have a little bit of love, imagine how much love he must have. He's the reservoir of everything. He must be the reservoir of love also, and affection, and go to all good qualities. So if someone can dispute that, a better philosophy than that is the philosophy of voidism. Is that much more exciting? When you hear the philosophy of voidism, do you want to chant void, void, void? 16 rounds, void. Hey, void, hey. Or impersonal, hey, Brahman, hey. No, let me merge into the TV set. So, unfortunately, people they think intelligence is to make everything more and more complicated. That's what they think, that the use of intelligence is to create a simple life and make it so complicated that no one can live it anymore. And that's advancement. That everyone has to become a machine just to survive. Like modern technology, they want to implant chips in everyone's brain, so that you can just survive in the world. Or they want to give you these goggles so that you can live in another world. They've made this world so horrible that no one wants to live here anymore. By the technology, they made it so undesirable to live here. They want to give you goggles so you can imagine you're in some other world. They never imagined if they just give up the goggles and all the technology, and they had clean air and fresh water, and nice relationships with people, stop all this heart, trying to put fear into everyone's heart. You're going to die. That's the whole thing. If you don't take the shot, or if you don't surrender to us, you're going to die. As one devotee went to a doctor one time, and the doctor said, "I'm sorry to tell you, I think you're going to die." So the devotee told the doctor, he said, I have something to tell you. I think you're going to die also. So all they can do is invoke fear in everyone's heart and make them act like a machine or a robot or something submissive to their horrible ideas of reality. Devoid of loving relationships, devoid of care of anything, the earth, the water, the sky, anything. As Prabhupada once said, they've contaminated the water, they've contaminated the air, they've contaminated the food, they've contaminated everything, therefore there must be war. Well, because war is there to clean everything up, to stop these horrible activities that they're doing. War is horrible. It's also to stop, to give the karmic reactions, that people stop, they wake up, and they stop these horrible activities that they're doing, and do actually real activities, which is ultimately Krishna consciousness, loving exchanges with the Supreme. So-called the religious nowadays, so they think they're doing the right thing. But we see in every conversation Prabhupada had, the first thing he asked the Christians was, "Thou shalt not kill." And immediately they become defensive. Well, what's wrong with killing? Or, all right, maybe I shouldn't be killing. But, that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is loving God. But if you ask them who's God, they have no idea who God is. But they love Him anyhow. So that's more important. Now, God says to do something, thou shalt not kill, but they don't think that's very important. Because they don't really want to surrender to God. They want to get something from Him. So they have no idea what the relationship, even the most religious people generally, very few religious people actually know what their relation with Krishna actually is. At least follow His instructions. At least follow the instructions of His representative. Stop killing animals. And what to speak of the cow. Then one can actually develop some higher consciousness that God must be a person because we're a person. How can our Father not be a person? If we're a person, how can our Father not be a person? How can the Supreme Father not be a person? If we're a person. What did he do wrong that he's not a person? Not only is he not a person, but if he's the source of everything, he must have all the beauty, all the strength, all the knowledge, all the fame, all the renunciation, all the wealth. What's a better definition of God than that? How can someone be God if they're Daridra Narayan? They're poor Narayan. And in order to serve Narayan, poor Narayan, you serve him goat Narayan. You know that?
Can you repeat?
In order to serve Daridra Narayan, poor Narayan, the beggar in the street, you serve him another form of Narayan, the form of a goat.
In the form of a goat.
You know, in India they eat goats.
Goat.
Goat.
Yeah.
You know, it's a little animal.
Yeah.
They actually eat them.
Yeah, I know.
So they consider everyone is Narayan. So the Daridra means poor Narayan. So they consider that in order to serve poor Narayan, because he has no food, now you take another Narayan in the form, because they believe the goat is also Narayan. So in order to serve the poor Narayan, you serve him goat Narayan. Or what is that name of the Ramakrishna meeting? What's the name of a chicken in chicken in Hindi?
Murgi.
Morgi. The Morgi religion. Because they eat a lot of chicken. Even Prabhupada was visiting Hyderabad and these ladies were offering him their house. And they had tulsi plants. They cut them in the form of chickens.
They eat this chicken biryani.
What's that?
In Hyderabad they make this chicken biryani.
Chicken.
Biryani.
Billion.
Biryani.
Billions.
Biryani. Chicken biryani. This is like rice. Like rice.
Oh,
and
they mix the chicken in with the rice.
Yeah, but yeah. They put saffron and things like it's like kind of a rich thing. Like you can make vegetarian version also, but in Hyderabad it's famous with chicken.
They make things out of chickens. Morgi. The Ramakrishna mission is called the Morgi religion. So this is, and we're presenting Krishna, and people think, oh, this is fanaticism. This is not very important. Krishna is not very important. The source of everything is not important. But eating chickens is very good. Feeding goat Narayan, that's a high class altruism. Feeding a goat to poor Narayan. This is the purpose of life. Therefore we should understand that only if we become happy and manifest bliss, so that people will actually experience that happiness. Otherwise, where is it going to come from? If we're not chanting Hare Krishna, and Krishna is manifesting it within our heart, to some degree or another, then where are people going to experience the energy of Krishna, the spiritual energy? If we're not experiencing it. It's like on book distribution. If we're not enthusiastic, if Krishna is not manifesting his energy through us, then why would people take the book? They didn't come out on the street looking for a philosophical book on Hinduism. Oh, let me get their book. It's in Sanskrit. I can't read it. I wanted to buy a book I can't read. No, they're only buying it because of the enthusiasm of the devotee. And maybe the pictures, they may like the pictures. So how is that enthusiasm of the devotee manifested? It's manifested because Krishna is manifesting it. It's coming from Krishna due to the fact the devotee wants to serve him. And the only way Krishna can be served, because he's all spiritual, is by manifesting spiritual energy. Otherwise, how can we distribute either to each other or to anyone else? Unless we're actually somehow or another, Krishna is manifesting his energies through us, through our desire to serve him. Then how is Krishna consciousness spreading? Even when we take prasadam, and we enjoy prasadam, that love that we have for prasadam, which is not different from Krishna, that's also distributing Krishna consciousness. And if we take prasadam like an animal, and people watch us and think, wow, these people are ferocious. Or else they're really hungry. So we manifest the energy, if we act in such ways to manifest the energy of Krishna in our lives, as Prabhupada was saying here, then we know that's really what we're trying to do. Not just go through the motions of appearing like a devotee of Krishna. We try to manifest Krishna in this world, and that will give people hope. Will give us hope also. That there is a path towards complete freedom from material existence, which gives unlimited bliss and love and appreciation for the divine eternally, for everyone. It gives people hope that there's another reality beyond just this rather punas charvate charvananam, the same thing over and over again. They call it hackneyed, just repeated the same thing over and over again. That there's another world where there's real hope eternally, which always gets better and better, rather than just gets more and more boring all the time. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Yes.
If I can ask you about is like these kind of lectures that you're giving, they are really I really find them useful a lot. I'm just asking, questioning, if we would speak like that to common people, like outside, how will that affect them? Do we need to change our approach, or we just need to kind of just continue on convincingly speaking?
No, we have to talk to people according to where they're at. Basically speaking, our philosophy is quite simple. We're not this body, there's the Supreme Person, Krishna. How to explain that to them depends upon where they're at, what their level of consciousness is. We can start on a higher level, we don't know, and then work our way down. Or start on a lower level. Basically speaking, try to explain to people that they're not their body. And then if they can't understand that, at least, there's something called the mode of goodness, and we should try to be good. And if they can understand that, then we can explain to them that there's karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, bhakti-yoga, as Krishna did for Arjuna. And if they're elevated enough, then we can immediately go to bhakti-yoga. That there's a Supreme Person who we should serve him. So Prabhupada, for instance, Prabhupada wanted to talk to intelligent people. And he immediately went to, with most of them, that the purpose of life is to serve the Supreme. And Krishna is the Supreme, take him. He is the Supreme. And if they didn't understand that, he just kept at it. He didn't change it. But sometimes he went down to a lower level explanation, like Professor Kataski. Tried to explain to him that he's not the body. Couldn't understand that. Tried to explain to him about there should be an intelligent class of men. He couldn't understand that, and Prabhupada asked for a taxi, and they couldn't give it to him, so he had to go out and find it himself. So we have to use our intelligence, but we have to try to convey something that people can practically utilize in their lives, either to come to the mode of goodness, or to come to some kind of level of transcendence, or to come to Krishna consciousness. But for most people, it's just chanting Hare Krishna. And by chanting Hare Krishna, they may get some intelligence by association with Krishna, some purification, they can understand what we're talking about. But for most people in this world, if you tell them about Krishna, they won't understand anything you're talking about, because they're not that pious. But a simple village person in India will understand, just because they're pious, and because they have the good fortune of not getting a modern education. Their brains aren't filled with all this nonsense. Yes.
You speak about liberation, not identifying with the body, seeing the body as a car or a vehicle. So sometimes, we can kind of be aware of that at some point of the day. But how are we sure that we are kind of doing it constantly, that we are actually in a liberated state, that it's not just like a phase?
Well, we're not on a liberated platform. We're trying to come to it by working on the liberated platform. As long as we work on the liberated platform, then we get higher experience of that. Ultimately, transcendental platform, which includes the liberated platform. But as soon as we stop working on the liberated platform, or we work less on it, then our consciousness goes down.
What are other symptoms of the liberated,
Brahma-bhuta, prasanatma, nashoshiti, nakangshiti, amaksarveshu bhuteshu, madbhaktim labhate param. We don't hanker for anything. We don't lament over anything. We see all living entities as spiritual beings, just like we are. And therefore we become interested in performing devotional service. Throughout Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is giving so many symptoms of a person who's liberated. So Arjuna is asking him. But there's simple definitions. Like Krishna says, there's a whole series, so many, in all parts of the Bhagavad Gita. Prajahati yata kaman, sarvapartamanogatan, advatmane manatushta tita pargasta tochite. When a man gets all varieties of sense desire, which arise from mental concoctions, when his mind finds satisfaction in self alone, he said he's situated in transcendence. Sukeshu vamanangmanak, sukeshu vigata spriha, ita ragavaya krodas, ita dhirmun uchite. One who's not disturbed in spite of the threefold miseries, who is not elated when there's happiness, is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is known as a sage of steady intelligence, or steady mind. Yak sarvat trimbi sneha, tata prapya shubha shubha. And vinandastudadveshti, tacha pragyapatishita. One who doesn't find good in this world or is not disturbed by the evil, is said to be fully situated in transcendence. Yak sarvat karmanma eva sarvatra, indriyaranyayate just tasya pragyapatishita. One is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects, as a person withdraws his senses within a shell, is said to be perfectly situated in transcendence. Yada samar hayate chayam kumang ravi sarvata indriyate vyastasya pragyapatishita. One is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. Visharan vinivartante nirharasya deyina rasavarjam rasopyasya param dishvanivartate. The embodied soul may restrain himself from sense objects, may restrict it from sense objects, though the taste of sense objects remains, but ceasing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he is situated in transcendence, fixed in consciousness. So that's the sign of liberation, experiencing the bliss of Krishna consciousness.
Is it ruchi or nishta? Or aya, actually?
Well, it begins by chanting Hare Krishna. Even at the state of sadhana bhakti, sadhu sangha, you can experience some bliss. You concentrate the mind on Krishna. But the steady manifestation of that is when one comes to the stage of beginning with nishta. That's when you actually, it always becomes more and more intensified. From beginning from nishta, then ruchi, asakti, that's intensification of the bliss. But there's also anartha niriti, means that one is feeling more transcendence than he is material. But because one is going back and forth to a certain extent, Therefore, one is going up and down like a yo-yo goes up and down or something. But at the stage of anartha nivritti, one is actually on the stage of clearing the offenses against the holy name, then it becomes steadier and steadier, and the taste of the holy name increases also. The taste for association with Krishna through his names also increases to the platform. But sometimes one drops down from there due to offenses, and then comes up again. But it's always, it's going like, it's not in the state of anartha nivritti, you're going down, but you're going up again. You don't go down as much as you did before, until finally you get to nishta, and then you just go up.
And so that is continuous, some kind of inner fulfillment, continuous inner fulfillment.
What's that?
Nishta means continuous inner fulfillment.
Yeah, it means becoming more and more intense Krishna consciousness. It means every at the state of nishta, they may not be completely free from the material conceptions, but they don't interfere with one's service anymore. When it's completely fixed. And then ruchi, then the taste is so that one actually becomes more and more, because it all depends on the soul's desire. And the taste becomes so sweet that one doesn't want to stop doing service. And then at Sakti, one can't live without thinking about Krishna, without experiencing Krishna. It's like a fish can't live without water. And then at the stage of bhava, then one gets a little drop of what real devotional service is. One ray of the sunlight of prema. And then one understands what one's actually feeling, so it's Krishna awakened. And then one's real identity comes out. The state of bhava. It's only one drop, one ray in the sunlight of prema, but still, one's actually feeling, so it's Krishna awakened. And then one no longer identifies with a false ego anymore. And in the state of prema, one enters into one's real existence again. Anything else? Yes. Oh, yeah.
What are the different ways Krishna manifests his spiritual energy?
Everywhere. Everything you're looking at is a manifestation of Krishna's spiritual energy. There's no material, it's only our conceptions that there's something material. It is all Krishna's spiritual energy. Therefore, in the 10th canto, 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains how he manifests his spiritual energy in this world. That, what does he say? First verse. Because Arjuna asked, tell me how you manifest your spiritual energy in this world. And then Krishna says, okay, I'll tell you something. Aham atma gurukesha sarvabhutesha sita aham adishchamadhyam cha bhutanam anta eva cha. That I'm the super soul, Arjuna, see in the hearts of all living entities, and the beginning, the middle, and the end of all beings. So then Krishna starts with his Vibhuti chapter, explaining how all these things are all manifestation of his energies. It's all Krishna's energy. But for us, we're covered by material energy, we think it's material, some of these things. But when we become uncovered, then we'll see it's all spiritual. It's all parts of Krishna's glory. Everyone, everything here is a manifestation of Krishna's energy. And Krishna is intimately connected with everything. So therefore, when we see like that, then we'll always be intimately connected with Krishna too. Does that answer your question?
One of the symptoms of a liberated person is that he's equal or equal to both happiness and distress. So I'm just thinking about this, like generally when we are in distress condition, so we are lamenting or lamenting or this happened or that happened. But the person who is actually liberated, is he, something he do is either is he a bit disturbed or he just tolerates and he just continues his Krishna consciousness, or is just not at all?
He's on a different platform of experience. He's living in the spiritual existence. Therefore, his whole existence is blissful. There's only pleasure for the actual liberated person in transcendence. He's only experiencing bliss. Externally, it may appear that his body is going through difficulty, or even his mind, but he doesn't live in that platform. He lives it with Krishna, Krishna consciousness. But there are different levels of liberation too. Even one could be liberated in somewhat of impersonal Brahman by cultivation of knowledge. Like there was one Christian saint who was being tortured by the Muslims, and so they were torturing him by putting him on some burning metal or something. They were roasting him on some burning metal. So while he was being roasted, he told them, he said, actually you should roll me over because this side is already done. So you can't be in that, you have to have some level of detachment at least, which is a kind of liberation, to be on that type of consciousness. But it's not just toleration. One is actually meditating on Brahman, practically speaking. Krishna's effulgence, at least, impersonal, seeing everything equally. But real transcendence is when one can actually, one is actually in one's spiritual body. One has a spiritual body, a spiritual consciousness, and is actually living with Krishna in the spiritual level of consciousness. Like Prahladananda Swami in the Vilap-Kushamanjari, that he, in his spiritual body, he goes and serves Srimati Radharani and Krishna on the spiritual platform sometimes. But even when he comes back to the material platform, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would come to half external consciousness, full external consciousness, or external consciousness, half external consciousness, and full transcendence. But in any case, he was always Krishna conscious. So even when he's back here in the material world, but it's still all the spiritual world. Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj. We were speaking about liberation in this question sessions a lot. So I'm interested, if you are not perfectly situated, like I'm not, I'm in the ashram, and then you are more exposed to the chances of being disturbed by ladies, for example, because, I don't know, because you don't have this ashram protection, and you don't deal with one, but you might be dealing with hundreds of them, or 10 or something. So,
unless you have a harem, I usually don't have to deal with.
No, but my question is, since we are talking about Nishta and above, is there any possibility to come to Nishta in such an imperfect situation outside of proper ashram?
No, you have to have some kind of ashram. Otherwise, it's very hard to make any advancement. Because we haven't had a determination, at least to control our mind and senses in some way. That how is a question of fixing our mind on Krishna? If we can't even fix it in the material world, how are we going to fix it in the spiritual world? But if we chant Hare Krishna, come to the program, and try to take it seriously, then we might get a little more taste for Krishna consciousness and settle down a little bit more, make some determination to regulate our lives more, so we can get more of a taste in Krishna consciousness. So we have to try to get the higher taste by chanting and by participating in the program. And that will manifest itself in some determination to steady our material life also. So the whole thing depends on getting a higher taste in Krishna consciousness. Even for getting out of the material world. We get out of the material world because we want to go to the spiritual world. But we can't want to go to the spiritual world unless we get a higher taste of what the spiritual world is like. And then we become determined to do what's necessary in this world so we can go to the spiritual world. So it all depends on getting a higher taste and then trying to improve. Because of that higher taste, get a higher and higher taste. and be able to sacrifice for. Okay. Prabhupada. Grantaraj srimad-bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande. Far away from you.
Yeah, far straight from very near because then it's like chilly.
So you're better now?
No, I'm feeling so my
What's that? Yeah, yeah.
my whole body is paining so I think
All right. How's your next
Saturday morning, anyone?
tomorrow?
And today, first,
Yeah, we gave you next one.
okay, Friday,
The person will depend on the time of day.
okay, now.
Now I walk.
Yeah, you understood.
I don't walk out. I just walk. Next Friday.
What is the, you have to direct him. I mean the sense from 0 to 10. 0 means very pleasant. 10
Yeah, just grow.
Okay.
Otherwise, it is, you would have done that a couple of days. Yeah, sometimes I can't walk.
What they do in Ayurvedic? They do tapping slowly.
Yeah, tapping and then putting something.
Also, the kind of break and
Oh, that's funny, yeah. No, that's where the show control of the Ishvara is totally.
Similar problems and they have tradition 3 years ago. I'm just saying it may be for you. Not exercise, but she says it's a long time. 2 months, but just, and also they say all the time they go to the shower like a child, pieśnia, która non-stop is warm. It's good for you to think this.
Thank you.
I wish that you could.
Tomorrow, thank you, Mark. Tomorrow, Guraya. You know who Guraya is? Guraya.
Dylan.
Yeah.
Dylan, dobra, he's the
He drove me to Guraya, but I'm not sure. He was supposed to drive me tomorrow.
same time.
What's that? No, the side don't work. Go look at each other. He's retired.
You know,
He said because everything is really tight.
yeah, he doesn't go actually treatment about but just relaxing with it.
I mean, it's not relaxing either.
He said that he couldn't do treatment because he's so stiff, he just want to.
That was that one day he came, but he's kind of a little enthusiast. that guy at full speed. He's picking up.
He's trying to get it.
No.
za krvi, ja kažem hvala. Dobro, krvi. Kada nešto pojega, i onda izađe van, i onda ide 30 godina sestra, i mi kaže,
Prosto ljudi, to je sliki.
Ako iskušate, svaki sebe koji da ono, ako iskušate, na njima je svaki se, što ono, možda ono, neko daje, znaš ono, dolazite po nekom, četvrti vide pravi.
A koliko se stvara, 200?
Koliko ti abimani, dođe na set da super, da se ove sastavljamo. What you doing? Bhagavatam set! Ali vraći se nazad. I znaš ono, evo, dajte ga, kad sve to dobri, može bi ovo. I Bhagavatam set, čovjek. Znaš, i... Ne znam.
Što shopping mallovi, gdje?
A da, rade lagano. Znači, ima dakle $10, $10, ajmo, znaš ono, ide za bavi se i nama su strano.
Yo, man, I like your hair, man. Can I have your hair too? It's like, I like your beard. Oh, God. I didn't look like a top guy.
Znaš, kako entuzijasta? Znaš, niko ti nije u životu jako entuzijasta. Ja ne mislim da je to kao oni najbolji. Kao ne bi tap, samo small tap. Small tap, da znam će tam isto digneš od
Oh, this is the Guru Krishna.